Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aha Moments radio show for the inspiration, education, and celebration of high-frequency living worldwide. I'm Mari, and I can't tell you, I have been thinking about all of you for weeks, and I've been in the throes of writing and finishing my second book. So, but now the world has kind of gone into complete mayhem. And I am pulling myself out of the finishing touches chamber. I'm past the writing part. Now the book is in design mode. It's actually I'm getting the final files and everything tomorrow. And we'll be launching very shortly. So I wanted to get on here and not wait another minute to talk with you guys about all the things that are going on, because I know I've been getting emails and people calling, and I've been doing a lot of private sessions because I'm in between. We're on hiatus from the academy work, and so during the summer I can fit in more private sessions. And so I've been hearing so many people, and even friends and old colleagues, new colleagues, just everybody's really, really, really in the throes of it. Nobody is being spared of this tornado-like energy. So I wanted to just come on and just say hi and get back in the saddle here with you guys. We have so much new stuff coming up very, very shortly, over the next few weeks into, I call it the new year, for me, the fall. As we move out of summer and into the new season, into the fall season, you're going to see lots and lots of new stuff. But I wanted to first just get in here and say, if you're feeling really confused right now, angry, highly concerned, terrified, I've heard all kinds of things, everybody's in their own state of flux, you're not alone. And I wanted to sort of build some layers to help you to sort this out. So, I'm just going to jump right in, and we can go into, the book stuff and other announcements a little bit later in the show. But I want to just jump right in and just kind of get to what's top of mind here. Every year, I usually do, or when I was really, really on it, I would do an energetic State of the Union in January. And this year, I actually was going to do that, and something said, no, not yet. And then I had it actually all set up in the soundboard to do a few weeks ago, and I heard, no, not yet. And it kind of I was so caught up in, writing books and courses and all that stuff is really all consuming. So I was, all kind of caught up in that. And then last night I heard, okay, you're going to do this now. You're going to do this now. We need to talk now. We need to get out there now. So it's okay, well, here I am. So at the time of this recording, I've never recorded on a Sunday, and I've never recorded at 6 o'clock in the morning, but I literally was just like, go get on the air now. So here I am. So I want to help you to sort of structure how you analyze things that feel really out of your control, because that's one of the big things that's happening right now. And so there's a lot of, when I look at these things, and people ask me all the time, well, Mari, what do you think? What do you think? My mother always used to say, well, when you say something, it's different than when everybody else, because you're connected to da-da-da, And so, but I too have the 3D side of me that has, all those same, things that everybody else has. But I also have a very high level of fluency energetically. So I can look at things from a variety of different vantage points. And this is why I encourage people to really invest in getting as fluent as you possibly can in your energetic abilities, because that's really what is supposed to be carrying us through this. Not your intellect. The intellect is failing everybody because nothing's making sense. If you watch the news, any station, pick your station, you will find that you will hear probably every 4 minutes some anchor, some pundit, some analyst saying, well, we've never seen this before. There's no precedent. This just hasn't happened. This is not normal. Because the news, the 3D kind of muggle mind is always in the past. It's always trying to justify the future and the present with precedent, with what happened in the past. That's just not how energy, frequency, and the world is really structured, right, in the grander scheme of things. So we have our 3D side of ourselves and our lives, and then we have the 5D side of ourselves and our lives. And 5D is really the 80%. There's actually really 100%, but just a portion of us in this physical body car doing this physical walkabout in this physical 3D world, right, to have those tangible, tactical experiences, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go down that long thing. You'll hear enough of that in the weeks to come. But the point here is that when we're listening, first of all, to positions of authority, we're trying to go to, we're listening to, okay, what does she say about it? What does she say about it? What he says about it? What is my favorite news person saying? What is my favorite station saying? What does this say? And what does that say? And then, and so people are kind of running to the experts to hear what they should think, right? And then you look back, so that's the macrocosm. Then you're looking in your own life. And like, how's life flowing for you today, right? Like, how is it going? Is it flowing? Is it really, really, really hard? Are you being slammed in all directions? I'll tell you what, right now, there's a lot of slamming going on. I've been contacted by several colleagues and people that I hadn't talked to in years and years, and they're doing very, very well, their careers and what have you. However, this year's the year of pivot. I have seen more of the top people that you could not touch 3, 4, 5 years ago, financially, success-wise, number of clients, platforms, how far and wide they were going. They had the Midas touch, the Midas touch, the Midas touch. The Midas touch kind of retired right now for a lot of people. And people that just been so invincible in the past, coaches and leaders and writers, like really high-level people that you think, okay, they always have it together. But everybody is being called to the mat right now. And a lot of people are being brought to their knees. A lot of people the falls from grace are falling wide. And I'm seeing a lot of and hearing a lot of, quiet as it's kept panic. People kind of saying, I haven't seen this kind of backslide in my world in 20 years or ever or 10 years. And, things that used to work, things that would pull you through aren't working anymore. And that is a seismic shift that we're happening from both a physical perspective, but especially from a frequency-based perspective. Now, there's a saying, all that glitters isn't gold. And there's another saying that I'm going to make up right now because it's being channeled to me, and it's to the effect of just because things seem like they're falling apart, they're actually falling together. Right? There's a crossroads that we're all at, and we get to, as a society, make a decision. We get to make a decision if we're going to go into what was originally planned, which is a time of expansion and forward progression and freedom and this energetic independence, this new articulation of life. We have a lot of things that have come in technologically that always kind of drive things. So we see AI, We see all of these different new expansive opportunities out in front of us, especially the entrepreneurial community. We're kind of always watching this stuff. We're always on it. And so AI is like a massive game changer in a lot of ways, not to replace anybody per se, but to expand, to be able to expand support for yourself, and especially if you're in business, in anything. And actually, it's working for everybody in all kinds of things. So you're going to see a lot of that. And then there's a lot of technology coming up behind that that's expanding, and it's giving people their time back, right? You're looking at these kids who are on YouTube, these influencers, and these kids who are content creators, and there's been this massive explosion in the last, year and a half, I would say, especially in the last 6 months, year to 6 months, where, AI is just enabling people who could never have ever thought of doing something other than, a lower level 9-to-5 job. These kids are making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, single moms, all kinds of things, because they've managed to start understanding digital marketing. And with the help of AI and so many different types of technology, there's so many skills now that can be done from a technological perspective that no longer require so much blood, sweat, and tears, so much, so many people and so much money and so much budget to actually bring to fruition. So the opportunities are just immense. And what we saw with COVID, and this is like we had COVID and all of that, and we had a break. Kind of caught up, the economy caught up, and, all that. And now we have everything going on with this political cycle, amongst a bunch of other things. You see it across all kinds of countries, not just our country. You're seeing systems, institutions really being tested. Our Constitution, but plenty of other countries are going through it too. Our freedoms are being tested. The opportunities are being tested. It's like all of this technology is coming as fast and furiously down the pipe, and then all the freedoms are being threatened to be taken away and it's extinguished, right? So you've got this real dichotomy situation going on. I can say this is not the time to say, okay, let's wait and see what happens. Okay, I'm just going to blow it off. Okay, I'm going to sit this one out. This is not that year. This is not that year. So from a physical 3D perspective, and I'm going to get into the energetics in a second, but from a physical 3D perspective, this is the time to really keep your eyes wide open, your ears wide open, and stay very focused, right? And take one moment at a time. And stay very focused. And if it's, walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's a duck, okay? And when, a lot of, again, sensing of things, like I sense more than I think, right? I go in sensing is my first priority, and then I let the logic come up to support what I've received from a sensing perspective, right? And that's because I moved to 5D first, which is the infinite field of choice, of possibility, of outcomes, all that stuff. And the higher self resides there, the infinite access resides to every problem is solved there. So I always go to infinite first, and then I bring it back down, kind of like, funnel it back down into, okay, what's the 3D tactics to take, tasks to do or steps to take to operationalize the world, right? So I will say this, you must pay attention right now to what's happening. It is legit. It is legit. There is no conspiracy, that this is all, just foo-foo. That Project 2025 absolutely is real, and you need to pay attention, right? You can make your own decisions as to whether that's fine for you or not, but you need to know it exists, and you need to know what it's saying, and you need to know what the implications are, because it is well underway. So there's plenty of news shows, and I'm going to let the news and, your favorite pundits help you with, sorting that out, but get with whoever you trust and learn about that document. Absolutely, hands down, learn about it. And you can make your decision one way or the other. If that's fine for you, then you go in one direction. If it's not fine for you, then you make sure you go in the other. But, so I'm not going to condemn anybody in any direction, but I will say pay attention, because it is the difference between you having all these options and going back to 1875, losing every freedom that you possibly could think of having. And there's not one aspect of society that's not affected by it. So you really want to pay attention to that. That's a big deal. And I'm sure you are. If you're listening to this show and you're attracted to this title, you are paying attention to it. And it is real. So if I'm one of the leaders you look to say, I wonder what Mari's thinking about this, I'm going to say, right, hands down, I'm on the show at 6 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday to tell you it's time to take this seriously. This is something, right? Which means vote. Make sure that you vote, okay? Do not sit this out. So that's the 3D thing. Okay, so now let's get into the 5D thing. Let's talk about what's happening, because this is where we're going to rise up out of the fear, rise up out of the what if, rise up out of the if only, rise up out of the yeah buts and the but what about them and what about this and what about that? All of that, yeah buts, what ifs, if only, that's all 3D. Your mental mind is, on it, panicked and doing its thing. Remember, your mental mind cannot come up with the solutions by itself. Your mental mind can only focus on the past and what it's seen other people go through before. Your higher self is where the next steps, the solutions, the best path forward is going to be downloaded from for you. So one of the things I just want to help you kind of decipher, how do you sort of get the energetic take on situations like this where it feels so out of control, right? So like it's this big, huge thing, and the whole world is blah, 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 and the whole world is leaning, and, the leaning tower people are like, all that kind of stuff. The first thing you want to look at when you're starting to feel something, first of all, you always feel your body. Your body is a psychic antenna. It's letting you know whether you should be concerned or whether you shouldn't be concerned. If you're having sleep disruptions, if you're feeling indigestion, if you're feeling dehydrated more so than usual, if you're feeling very tired, if you're feeling like that kind of physical logging, that's a sign. That's a communication. Your body is sort of whispering to you, hey, listen up, pay attention. I need, first of all, physiologically, it probably needs some care and attention, but from an energetic perspective, there's something going on. So if you look at a particular topic, let's say you read a headline and you feel this sinking feeling, your body's saying pay attention. That's not a good thing. If you feel this lighter feeling, this rising, like kind of expanded, like, we all know what release feels like, right? And we all know what doom feels like. So though I know those are extremes, but for the sake of illustration, I'm going to use it. So if you kind of read something and you feel that kind of this lightness, even if it's not like quite the mainstream frame of thought, then you move forward with that, because for you, that's moving you towards your own personal truth. If you're feeling like this sinking feeling, then pay attention to that, because that's also moving you towards your truth. You have to kind of not just use your intellect to think. It's very important in these kinds of situations that you take all of that frenetic stuff that's going on kind of up top over your head and in the top of your head, and you have to start to take deep breaths and bring it down into your heart center. You have to look into your heart center, and right there in the middle of your chest, and so drop your thoughts down into that space so you can start to perceive and feel and receive guidance, right? As opposed to thinking and worrying and criticizing and believe me, we're all in there. People are like, oh my God. The internet is hysterical. Everybody's hysterical. So don't condemn yourself if you get caught up in, keyboard wars with people and, it's the political cycle. It was going to be bad anyway, but this is, off the rails. So you're going to drop down into your heart center. That's first. And you can literally say, okay, higher self, I'm here. I'm available. Talk. Right? I mean, we have lots of different processes. Talk to your higher self. This is like the, rubber meets the road version. And you want to just say, okay, am I, when I'm looking into when I'm reading things, when I'm, considering my world, my pivots, all the things that might be falling apart in my life, all the things that might be falling together, all the people dropping away, all the people trying to come back, all that stuff. And all the things going on, on a microcosmic level for your own personal life and a macrocosmic level, your own country, and then the macro, the whole world, all that stuff, global warming, climate change, all that stuff. Everything that you're worried about, your kids, your grandkids, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. What you want to do is drop down into your heart first. You have to, because that's where the intelligence is. Your heart center has actually way more intelligence than your brain. Your brain is really here for the 3D experience, and your heart is here for the 5D experience. And yes, we can argue, we've got the pineal gland and this and that and other things going on in the brain and the neuroscience and all that. I'm not getting into that today. I want to keep this very clean for you so you can sort of get through these times, because you have some big decisions on your plate right now, okay? From a personal perspective and from a global perspective. So it's important that you get to the right sourcing spot in your body to get those particular directions. I'm not saying answers, but guidance for yourself. Okay? What we're looking for, not looking for predictions, because that puts the answers outside of us. You get to pick the parallel that you want to participate in. That still exists, and that's still true. We're not looking for predictions, and we're not even looking for answers. These answers imply that there's a right, a wrong, a yes, a no, this decisiveness. But that's not what this time is. What you're looking for is you're looking for that energetic guidance to go right along with you. So as you're experiencing things in the physical, which is completely valid, then your higher self is experiencing things from a dynamic, energetic perspective, and what you want is guidance. You're giving guidance to your higher self, like, hey, you know what, we've got time and space and linearity over here, so I really need some support with, health or finances, relationships, whatever. We've got time and we've got situations here. So you're giving your higher self guidance of that walkabout on the 3D side, from the intellectual side, and your higher self needs to give you guidance for, okay, from a 5D perspective, from an energetic expanded perspective, here's what we need to do. Here's the next step. Now, here's the difference. From a 3D perspective, we're always looking for, because we're dealing on a timeline, time, space, linearity, right? We are looking for, these trajectories, these projections, these forecasts, these predictions, right? Because we're thinking linearly. But from a 5D perspective, your higher self does not do linearity, and because it's a different infrastructure. So there's no time, there's no space, there's no linearity. Everything is about in that present moment. And when you're in the present moment, you have access to everything, so you don't have to wait on time, space, and linearity to get what you need. Start to fight yourself, because it's very seductive to feel like in the 3D world, you don't have enough. You look at this, I've got to pay this bill, I can't, I got to do that, and I can't, and all this, I can't. But your higher self is like, hey, I've got all these solutions right here. Everything that was ever going to exist already exists. All your solutions, all your money, all your health, all the versions of you that are successful, they already exist. So it's not a matter of you have to change you here. It's a matter of you have to move into the version of you that has what you want, including civilized free world. And that's not necessarily guaranteed if we don't get it together with our choices. Right? So how do you want to go through this experience? So from a 5D perspective, it's a different question. From a 3D perspective, it's, oh my God, what's going to happen to us? Holy crap, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. We're screwed. On the 5D perspective, it's okay. What is the experience that I want to choose at this time? How do I want to have, what parallel do I want to live in? What's the outcome that I choose to create with my choices, with my focus, with my resonant energy? How do I want to resonate? And this is where it takes a muscle. It takes an energetic muscle. This is not like, bippity boppity boo, blink your eyes and okay, everything just changes because I'm being spiritual. This is not about spirituality. This is not about dogma. Okay? This is not about, some big thing from the great beyond that's going to save us all. That's what's gotten us into trouble in the first place, that mentality. It's not about that. What it's about is resonance. It's about this shift. The biggest crossroad that we really have is recognizing the choices that we have. And the choices are an energetic, from a 5D perspective, or are we going to stay in this kind of 3D, blindfold? Okay? So this is a true macrocosmic awakening. COVID did a lot of purging. It did a lot of pulling people off their regular routines stopped the whole world, took the entire society on the human race, and said it sat everybody down. People who were meant to leave left, and the ones that stayed knew, okay, DNA has shifted. The energetic grid was being shifted over at the time. People's priorities completely changed. People didn't want to go back to those jobs that they were in where they were kind of numbed out and sort of dead into it. Entrepreneurship took off. The digital age took off. There were so many things. People started to realize that they wanted to eat more healthy. They started to grow their gardens again. All kinds of things. All kinds of shifts happened because of that time. A lot of people were very hurt, PTSD, shutdowns and businesses collapsing and all kinds of things. But the bottom line is that piece is done. And now there was a bunch of construction in the middle. And now we're having the power grid go off on the old and the power grid light up on the new. Here's the thing, if we let. And there's that last gasp of we should just be the way we were always back in 1700 or 1800 or even 1900. They've taken this last gasp because the opposite of that, the opportunity, the expansiveness to have technology and science, IVF, for instance, the ability to create families, even if your body is not necessarily able to do that with ease and all that other stuff. There's the AI, all kinds of technology, all kinds of options and opportunities and electric everything, the whole thing. All of these progressions are in front of us. And now we have, and you still have a choice, even with all those things in place. You don't have to adopt all of that. But if you want the choice to be able to adopt it or not, you need to connect. Because when we're looking at this energetic state of the universe from a 5D perspective, the first thing I always look at, is myself. I say, okay, is this, am I being, asked to release something, let something go, whatever. But then if things are really feeling rocky and it's just like the grip isn't releasing, because generally I can fix things pretty quickly, a few days or whatever. But if things are really kind of patterning out and it's just feeling like, okay, this is intense, I start to look at the planets. I don't like to look at all the predictive, like astrology, numerology stuff on a daily basis or anything. That's not my thing. A lot of people love it. I don't say don't do it. I'm just saying for me, because I'm a channel, I'd rather channel my guidance because it kind of, when you're working from a multidimensional perspective and you're working with parallel realities and, a higher perspective, you can fly up over all the predictive stuff because it's kind of like you're the sun and you're looking down at the clouds and down at Earth from that perspective as opposed to like underneath the clouds and saying, what's going to happen to me now? What's down? What's down? What's down? You can, this is what I'm talking about when we talk about energetic expansion. Can you expand past even that? Right? Now, for the most part, yes, you can if you're really prolific at this stuff, but there are certain transits and certain times when if you're feeling really kind of set back on your hot steer, this is a real horsey term, sorry, kind of pulled down into your world and kind of like, look at what's happening. When we have certain transits and retrogrades and all of that, it's so that the masses will kind of go in a certain direction, right? So, we have all of our individual, charts and times and all that stuff, and that's very, very obviously personal to the level, like your DNA kind of personal with your own astrological chart. But when we have these kind of bigger global things going on, it's good to take a look at what's happening. And right now we're in a year of Saturn. We also are in Saturn in retrograde. And that is not 3 weeks like most in retrograde. That lasts until November. It's like a 4-month thing. We also have a couple other planets in retrograde. And, which I'm not going to get into all the details because I don't want you getting in the weeds of it all. But then we'll have a Mercury in retrograde on top of that in August. And then, of course, we'll have the fall eclipse season and all that kind of stuff. So, and, that's one of the reasons why we have all this churn. Saturn happens to be a very difficult planet for most. It's kind of a karmic planet. It really kind of sticks your face and smushes it around in the mud, it's a very harsh kind of an energy. And what that does is it pushes you to change. So if there's anything that you've been sort of just carrying along as baggage, you're being told, look, we're not doing anything. You got to put this stuff down. You got to focus on it, and you got to face it, and you got to get after it, and you got to fix it, and you got to make a change. And Saturn doesn't like let up. And then we have a Saturn return. So that's like you have your own personal kind of 2-year Saturn cycle when you're 27. And then there's a second, but most people don't know that there's a second Saturn return in your late 50s. And then there's another one in your late 70s. But the bottom line is that Saturn return, if you're in the corridor between 55 and 60-ish, give or take, and there's Saturn return calculators that you can look at online. You could probably even ask AI. You can sort out with your own chart and your own, astrology professional when that Saturn return is, because that is something you want to know about, because that can help you to navigate those challenges that come along with being in a Saturn return. But then, so if you happen to be in a Saturn return, then this is kind of like a triple whammy, right? And so this is where you say, okay, let me stop, let me take a beat. This is where you may have to say, okay, I'm going to, take things really minute by minute. I'm going to ask for support, for help from other people, from, getting, coaching or getting, some sort of guidance. This is when I say getting into private sessions with, your healers, your readers and stuff. It can be helpful, because if you're feeling really, really kind of smothered by, things going on, it's great to get, some sort of other perspective and some support and guidance, and not try to go it all on your own. That's not, the whole Saturn thing is not a time where you're like, okay, I'm just going to be independent and free. It's not, it's a tough transit kind of energy. It's very karmic. So I look at that. I look at what are the planets doing. Are we in a retrograde? Are we in an eclipse season? Are we in something that we just need to ride out because it's kind of so big? Or are we in something that, you really can rise above and just say, hey, you know what, that's going on down there, but I'm going to expand over here. And you still, even in a Saturn situation, you still want to explain. You still want to drop into your heart, ask your heart for its answers, okay? Take your deep breath, ask your heart, drop into your heart, get quiet, get centered, and say, okay, higher self, meet me here. What do we have? You work with me. Not asking for predictions, what's going to happen to me. Not asking for what should I do, yes, no, but guidance, where you're willing to take that one step at a time approach that your higher self requires. So when I was talking before about linearity and your 3D mind, it wants a whole syllabus and a whole linear path. Your higher self is like, you are here now. It's like a mall map, okay? And then it says do this, and then you're like, just get that one task done. Then it will reveal the next task. That's because it only works in the present moment. And depending on how you operate in that present moment, that will dictate what the next step actually is. It's not predetermined. So your free will is involved. So that's why your higher self says, stay in the present moment, take this one step, and then we'll reveal the next step based on where you are from the first, because your free will is involved. And that's why it's this, that's why the saying, stay present, stay present, stay present, stay present. Okay? So you drop into your heart, you're asking your questions from that regard. Now, when we are dealing with all this, retrograding stuff, one of the things that we happen to have when we have it, like, for instance, this whole theme of Saturn, I've asked this a lot. So I've channeled about this hours and hours. I channel at least an hour a day. So I have over 1,700 channeled messages in my phone right now, literally. And so I'm not just coming here talking off the cuff. I am sharing, doing a very consolidated set of, takeaways from what I've been channeling over the last many, many weeks and months. Especially recently. The Saturn and Saturn return thing, I felt a real big shift with, not in the Saturn return, but the Saturn and retrograde thing. I could feel that kind of like grinding wheels kind of thing. And then all of this stuff going crazy in the media, people after the guy's too old, people trying to kill the other one, it's just it's over the top. everything happening in France and Hungary and all these other places over the top. So that's very Saturnian. So what are some of the things you can do? And one of the big themes here, and this is one of the most popular private sessions I've done in my career, short of angel readings, is this ancestral clearing that I've been doing with folks. And here's the thing. I saw a chart a few months ago. It was brought to my attention. And the chart showed how many ancestors you actually have that have made you who you are today. And it just went for 400 years, right? So it didn't count the generations of your ancestors prior to 400 years ago. But just in the last 400 years, you have 4,097 ancestors that are made up who you are today as an individual. 4,097. So the parental line is like, obviously your mother, father, and your grandparents. And then anything after that is considered ancestral line, right? The great-grandparents are kind of on the cusp, but anything after the great-grandparents are definitely considered the ancestral line. Well, guess what? If you think of that as a funnel, you're down at the little pinprick at the bottom, and you've got 4,097 people. This is just 400 years worth contributing to your DNA, to all of your habits, to all of your traumas, to all of the dramas, all of the repetitive things that were passed down, and the reactionary things that were passed down, not just the DNA and the talent and all that stuff, but this energetic lineage, this kind of dumping from generation to generation to generation. And one generation will react and say, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to go the opposite. And then the next generation says, well, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to go the opposite. And it's this back and forth, ping-ponging back and forth. But it all lands on your head. On your head. Through the filters of your parents and their parents and their parents' parents and their parents' parents' parents and on and on and on. It goes 4,092 people. When I saw that chart and it wrote it, I said, OMG. I sent it out in the email. So if you guys are listening to the show, you probably saw it in the email. And I also posted it on Facebook. And it was channeled to me. We want you to do, ancestral clearing sessions, because here's the thing. All those ancestors, remember, no one really dies. People just transition. So we have all that energy that's still with you. Your ancestors are still trying to support you and help you as you do your walkabout on the planet, right? There's the vast majority of you is energetic. And here's what's really interesting, what was channeled for me. As I started doing these sessions with clients, and I started seeing like huge releases, like way bigger than an angel predictive reading, which I try to kind of stay away from for the most part. Way bigger, way more powerful, way more impactful, is because we do this clearing. The ahas just come up, but the like, oh my gosh, that wasn't me. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, and that wasn't me, and that wasn't me, and that wasn't me, and that came from this and that, and all those breadcrumbs. You start to realize, wait a second, this isn't all on me. This isn't all my fault. All the stuff that I'm going through, these things that, like the hard problems, the ones that feel like you just can't get on this, and those patterning cycles, you keep dating the same person, but it's a different person, but it's the same, protocol, all that kind of stuff, the same kind of job, same kind of issues, over and over and over and over again. That's an ancestral thing. That can be very much an ancestral thing. So when we started doing this present-day clearing work, right, it was stunning to see how quickly people were able to just release it. And part of that, you say, oh, well, we've been doing ancestral clearance in the beginning of time. Yeah, but not in this energy. Because the energy on the planet elevates and elevates and elevates and expands and purges and then grows and purges and grows. So we're in a totally different frequency now than we were when you did ancestral clearing back in 1985 or 95 or 2005 or 2015 or 2020, right? Because the energy on the earth is expanding and your being drawn as to expand too. So as you release the ancestral patterns for yourself, you get freed, right? Okay, great. But guess what else happens? They get freed too. And when you leave your body, you want to ascend. Well, if you still have all kinds of shackles and chains to the people that are still walking the planet because of the karmic pathways that you laid while you were here to them, there's still an attachment. So as you clear here and you expand and ascend yourself, they clear there, they expand, they ascend, and the things they can beam to you is spectacular. And that's what I've seen happening. And this is all channeled to me. I'm not, I promise you, it is all, I was like, that's really interesting. And so, as I taught this in the academy and I started to work with people, one-on-one on these clearings, I said, wow, the power of this is just tremendous. Now, we are in what we're calling the grand pivot. And this is for everybody. You are being called to face yourself. Like if you look in the mirror and you say, what's my calling? Who am I? Why am I here? What's my calling? Because everyone's being called. Everybody's being realigned to their own personal calling. And the first calling is connection with your higher self so that you can have that narrator by your side to support you as you go down this what's my calling pathway. Right? But in order to be clear enough to even start to hear those answers, the ancestral part and letting that go is the big chunk. And then when that's gone, it's like, whoa, the answers to these bigger questions, who am I, where do I fit in, what's my calling, all of that starts to really come forward. Because now you getting what you want, what's in your heart, helps everybody. So even if your parents put you down for your dreams, because their parents put them down for their dreams, because their parents were slaves before that and they didn't have dreams, and everybody had to protect themselves because they were in the Great Depression, and they were coming over on the Queen of Mayflower, and everybody's suffering. These people were being burned at the stake, and all this was passed down. So now you're afraid to be seen, and afraid to spend money, and afraid to be abundant, and afraid to have a healthy marriage, and all these things, all this baggage. You do this clearing, you lift all of that, then you start to get to your own personal truth, because now you're getting to be a voice of your true higher self. And guess what? Your ancestors get on board with that. They no longer have to hold on to the personality traits of what they were while they were here on the earth with you. They don't have to hold on to those old ties, because as the earth evolves, all frequency evolves. And this is where we're at now. This is why, from a 5D perspective, we're in a very powerful, extremely exciting time from a frequency-based perspective. Because, yes, every guardrail is being pushed and tested, and where the entire society is at this crossroads. Are we going predictable and control people and whatever, or are we going forward into our most expanded state? I can promise you your ancestors want the latter. Because as you expand, they get to expand too, because now they're not tied to your constriction. Because it's not, they've been cleared of that attachment, you've been cleared of that attachment. So as you lift, they lift. And in the whole cycle, instead of working against you now from like all that kind of snuffing out of your dream, now all of a sudden the blossoming of your dream, the more expands, the more you can feel in your own world, the better your ancestors do on the other side. So this is a global, multidimensional, multi-generational, multi-ancestral transit that we're in right now. And that's why it's so big. That's why it's so big, you guys. And that's why I'm doing this now at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. Okay? So as you are, moving forward through this 3D crazy time, get your education on what's happening from a 3D perspective. I'm not saying don't watch the news. And for all of you who take pride, I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to media. I'm not going to get stuck in. Now is the time to watch it. This is where, during the 2012 quarter, and I teach a lot about energetic history in my academy, but during the 2012 quarter, it was like everybody was like, all the big spiritual leaders, oh, don't watch TV, don't watch news, don't watch this, don't watch that. You'll damage your energy. In this frequency, you need to pay attention to what's happening so that you can send energy to it. So you can send energy for healing, so you know which choices are best for you, the most expanded choices. I'm not saying drown yourself in it and obsess on it. I'm just saying be aware and consume it in whatever is best way for you. If it's reading it, if it's listening to a NPR type of thing, or if it's listening to one of your favorite cable shows or whatever, whatever it is, right? But get yourself educated and then move on. Don't completely go blind, right? Don't just wipe it out and ignore it and say, and distract yourself. Pay attention, because that's what everyone's lives are pulling, and that's what this Saturn. This is all happening during a Saturn return for a reason. Saturn retrograde for a reason. It's because it's a karmic transit. It's pushing, because this is a genuine shift of kind of a no turning back shift that we're in. Okay? So you want to, from a 3D perspective, and then you want to take care of your nervous system. You want to get sleep, you want to get rest, you want to hydrate, you want to make sure you're taking electrolytes, you want to make sure you're getting enough magnesium and vitamin B and D and all the things, and whatever's right for your body. And, of course, follow all your medical physician's advice and your, healers and what have you. But you want to make sure that you're taking care of your nervous system. You want to, check it, take it down. You want to go a little bit slower. Okay, because your antenna are being it's like a turbulence thing. The plane doesn't go from 10,000 feet to 30,000 feet without most through a lot of throttling, right? There's a lot of pushback moving up altitudes and turbulence in most cases, right? So there's some sort of rattling around and what have you. Now we're in way more than that. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and recognizing that we're going to go through this turbulence, but we're going to get on the other side of it. And, it is so very, very good when we do. Make the choices for you. Now, so from a 3D perspective, you're taking care of your physical body, because the physical body is the psychic antenna. Right? It's the energetic antenna for you. So your higher self is sending and beaming the messages through your physical body. That's why you get goosebumps. That's why you have that feeling of lightness, or that feeling of heaviness, that feeling of thinking, I better do this or pay attention or whatever. This really needs to be very as clear as you can get, because your best channel and your best truth is you and your higher self navigating the world for you. Okay? So that's very, very, very important. From there, making sure that you're eating well and exercising and doing all those things. Take care of your nervous system and really focus on, you can do your journaling and really focus on what's my internal conversation right now, because your higher self is letting you know. It's trying. It sends over 100 messages a day. Okay? From a 5D perspective, here's something I want you to contemplate. We're all multidimensional beings. I'm sure you've heard about quantum jumping now and timelines and parallel realities, but every version of you and every version of outcome already exists. There's a version of outcome where each of these candidates is the winner. There's a version of the outcome where each of these candidates is the loser. There's a version. So there will be worlds where this one's the president. There'll be worlds where that one's the president. There'll be worlds where this one's not here anymore and that one's not here anymore. All those things. All of that exists already. So your outcome is possible, and how you experience it is possible by you choosing which parallel you want to experience. Okay? I'm not going to get down into a big, deep conversation because I'm kind of already over time with what I wanted to be on for today. But, we can bring that up and, if you want to have a session, talk about it, or if you want to participate in classes or, more shows or whatever, we'll talk about that, later date. But what I want you to know is there is a light, And it's, if you can get out of that, one of the biggest things is getting out of that victimhood of feeling like there's nothing I can do, there's nothing I can do. Yeah, you can choose the outcome you desire and start to live from the frequencies of that. And that basically means live from the emotions of that. To the best of your ability, take care of your nervous system so it's connected to you and your higher self, not reacting to every single thing you see going on around you and all those different news things and the social media and all that. And you keep yourself centered. And then you start to choose, I want to feel, how am I going to feel? All this is behind me, and I'm really operating in the life that I truly, truly choose, that I truly, truly want. It's time to honor yourself and honor your true dream. What's your calling? You're being called to something, especially if you're listening to this show. Everything to me is a class. But you're being called to something. To the highest and best version of you. The first thing you want to do is release the weight of that ancestral load, and then you'll be able to hear you a lot easier, and you want to get connected to your higher self. And then you're really in the ballpark for having a team. You want to pull your team together. Stop letting your intellect, which is only supposed to be handling like 20%, even less, of the load, have to carry the whole thing. Right? Just getting the ancestral load off is enormous. I've watched so many people, who've done these sessions with me just blossom after. Very, very quickly, because it's just like release. We're not taking you through everything that happened and all those old stories. It's not like we're not telling stories at all. We're just moving in there, saying, okay, this was a pattern done. This is a pattern that moving through that. And then that connecting with the higher self so that you can get, and it's actually a lot easier because now you don't have all those extra voices in your head of, past, critics and parents and all that stuff. And then you have your higher self, building that relationship with the higher self and taking, that high frequency pathway for making your own choices. So all that being said, it is very, very powerful time right now. You can stay very strong and stable. Focus where you want to go. Don't focus on the past. Get your journals out. Write down what it is you want, your feelings that led to. If you're just feeling confused, that's when you really know the clearing is really important, getting in there and really getting rid of some of the load so that you can start to perceive that more connected, centered feeling, and then the days will unfold. We're going to get on the other side of this. I'm not making any predictions. I have my feelings about it, but I'm not going to make any, sweeping predictions or anything like that. I think the most important thing, at least from my perspective and from what I can contribute to your walk forward, is I believe in your power and I believe in your choice. And I know that that's most important now. Not, me coming on as some spiritual person telling you, oh, this is going to happen, and oh, this conspiracy theory, and oh, this is, this is the great beyond, telling what, no, that's not the case at all. This is about energetic autonomy. This is about an energetic birthing into the most expanded version that we've ever had access to in the history of walking the physical planet. So we're getting access, and we're seeing the technology is coming through, the science is coming through, there's all kinds of things coming through. So, but your heart has to keep up with the technology. Always remember that. Our hearts have to keep up with the technology. And that's what we're being put to the test right now. So that all being said, I had done a round of ancestral clearing sessions, which I had finished a few months ago. I'm going to open up another round. If you would like to work with me, because I have a little bit of time now, the book is about to launch. Well, I'm going to start talking about that next week and start doing shows and all the things, the social media, the groups, all the stuff. I'm not going to get into it now because it's not all set yet, so keep an eye on the inbox for that. But if you would like an ancestral clearing session with me, I'd like you to send me an email at support@ahamomentsinc.com. I'll be opening up, I think we did 10 spots in my schedule. And so this is a very, very powerful session that I think would really benefit you. So please just send me an email at support@ahamomentsinc.com, and then we'll send you over all the information. And then the second thing that I'm going to just throw out here now, I recorded a brand new course called What's My Calling. It's an actual self-paced study course, 10 or 12 modules, and it really gets into that process of figuring out what that is, working with your higher self, figuring out, where you've been, where you're going, what's your most expanded self, and all that. And so I was going to release that, once the book comes out and everything, but I keep getting this guidance. I get started to feel like maybe I should offer that now. So what I'm going to do is this, because I think it's very important to get your mind in the powerful questions as opposed to the, oh my God, what's going to happen to us now? Ask a different question. What's my calling? What's my direction of the most expansive, right? My most expansive direction. So if you're interested in getting access to that course and all the details about that, again, send me an email. I didn't do web pages for this because I've been so caught up in the book and all the other stuff going on. But if you send me an email, support@ahamomentsinc.com, and say I'm interested in what's my calling in the online course, or I'm interested in the ancestral clearing, or you'd like to do both. I'm going to do a combination, I think, where we'll do the actual self-paced study course, but I'll add in a private session with that. Okay, so you can, and I'll send you the information on it, so it'll all be in writing and you can see it. But just for the sake of the show, because this is kind of being channeled to me now, because I want to be able to support you guys, and what I have seen from the clients who've done these ancestral cleanings, and myself, because I always never ask you guys to do anything I haven't done myself. When I did that ancestral clearing, it was a game changer, and it didn't switch back. Like sometimes you do clearing, and then the next day you're like, oh, well, what was that for? No. Because you're literally releasing the weight of 4,000 people, 4,097 people off of your back, energetically and physically. And when you release them, they release you, and they're able to guide you, but be from a place of expansiveness. And now instead of that patterning being that heavy load of what they live, now the patterning is, oh my gosh, look at us ascend. Oh my gosh, let's bring her with us, in the sense of let's give her more light, more expansion, more ideas, get her on board with what she's really there to do, and then let's go. Let's throttle forward in the highest and best, version of you, because everybody's released the karma all the way down the line, they're getting their highest and best on the other side as well. It's really powerful. And of course, in this, hour-long podcast, we can't get all of the, level of detail. Those of my classes know that we would be on the call for like 4 hours if I was teaching during this thing. But in the fall, we'll get back to that. So those two things. Okay, so I'm going to end now, but I just want to say, if you'd like to get an ancestral clearing session, game changer, and or participate in the What's My Calling online course, which is self-paced. It's recordings, videos and what have you, so you don't have to be on a group call, and then I'll add in a private session with me so you can talk to me directly about that. Just send me an email, support@ahamomentsinc.com, and we'll get you on the calendar. I'll send you the information, and we'll get all that taken care of for you and get you going. And I think right now the rest is slow down, pay attention, listen to your own guidance, drop into your heart, no matter how crazy, scary, whatever. Just drop into your heart and say, is this for me? Is this the right path for me? Where do I want my forward to look like? The backward, and one other thing is just coming through right now. If you go backwards, it's not going to be the same like it was before anyway, because the frequency in the earth has changed so much it can't even support that old way. It can't even support it. So use your free will in the direction of your highest and best, and the rest, the higher self, God, all the powers that be will come in and take care of the rest. All right, so I think that's it for today. I'm going to be announcing all the, the book stuff and new shows and all that stuff. And probably in the next week or so, we're just finishing everything up. And off we go into a whole new time, whole new space. All right? So I'm going to end with my motto, which is you truly can have exactly what you want. You absolutely deserve it too. And in this new energy, with some focus, anything is possible. It still is. Take care, everybody. Talk to you soon.